Okay, students, so our next interview is going to be with Amanda Colarusso. And Amanda, if you could start just by introducing yourself and telling us what your job or career is.
Great. So, hello, welcome. Thank you for having me. My name is Amanda Colarusso. I work for Ginsberg's Foods, and I am the human resource generalist there.
Okay, so in a job like that, what kind of steps did you need to take to get to where you are now?
So for me, I actually had a different. I started a different career path after college, and then I actually took a leadership group in Columbia County, and one of the things that led to that was basically what role best fits my personality. If anyone has taken a personality test, and human resources was one of them, and so I kind of came in to Ginsberg's because they had a position that handled the safety aspect of the company, but it was within human resources. And I quickly fell in love with the human resource field. And I kind of grew within that company.
That's great. So it kind of just came to you then. It just worked out.
Yeah. So I definitely knew I had an interest, but I didn't necessarily know how I was going to get into this field, right? So I worked for companies that always had human resource departments because most companies do, and I always thought it was really interesting their skills, right? So they would interview people, or they would do handbook training for the company, or they'd be involved in some of the fun like employee awards, and they'd put on events for the company. And I'm a people person. I love being around people. So I was like, oh, I really would be interested in that. So I kind of aligned myself to work for a company that allow that growth and that shift.
That's so cool. I love that. And I like that you said that, because for kids watching, it's important to know what kind of person you are. And you said you're a people person, you enjoy that, and that has to be there for a job like this. So could you walk us through a typical day in your field of work? What could someone expect if they were to have your job?
Yeah, so the one thing I will say about human resources is you never know what to expect. Um, when you're dealing with people, right? And I think it's important to say again, you have to be a people person because that's what you do all day. You are dealing with all different kinds of people, all different kinds of situations. Some are great, right? You hire that person that's just going to be a great fit for your company, and then other times they're not so great, where you have to tell an employee, listen, you broke a rule, or I'm sorry, but we have to end your employment with the company that we're working for. So it really is kind of this like roller coaster of a day on most days. But in general, anything to do with the employees, human resources is involved. And we start right from the second somebody applies. So if you're interested in a job and you send in your resume or you complete that application, somebody in human resources is receiving that. They're reviewing it. They're saying, hey, this person looks like they're going to be a great fit for our company. And then we go and we interview them. And then we decide if they are a great fit for that company. And then once they come in, right, we have to train them. And so human resources is part of the training when they come in. And all throughout their experience with the company, we are there to basically teach them or train them or help them in any way throughout their career with that company.
That's cool. I mean, like you said, there's ups and downs, but maybe every day is different. You don't know what it's going to bring, and sometimes that's good because it keeps the days moving quick.
Yeah, some days are full of interviews, right? So you have 10 interviews scheduled, so you're seeing all these new people. Other days it's a handbook training, right? So you're standing in front, or on Zoom nowadays, right? In front of your employees saying, okay, guys, here's the new policies, here's the new rules, here's some of the changes we're having. Sometimes you're presenting an award to an employee because they were the most innovative, or they created something or showed some type of skill that was above and beyond what was ever expected of them. So it really is. it's different, each day. So that's
Yeah.
the fun part about it.
And maybe you touched on that then. My next question was going to be, what do you love most about your job? So maybe it's a bit about that, but I'll give you a chance to answer that question.
Yeah, so I love the people piece of it. I love interacting with people. I love having conversation with people. I love listening to their stories. Even if it's a struggle, right? I'm having a hard time and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but say my manager says I need more training on this. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Like, what is the hard part about that for you? So just meeting people where they are, and giving them the training and what they need in that moment is really what I love about the job.
That's great. So, and if you could add to any of the skills that you've already mentioned, what kind of skills are needed to be successful at this job, whether that be those soft skills in terms of teamwork and communication, or those trainable skills that perhaps you needed to acquire?
Yeah, so I think when I think about human resources as a whole, right, every company kind of views human resources a little bit differently, but really the core of the position is we're kind of the referee in a game, right? So anyone can relate to that, right? Whether you like baseball or football or basketball, like games have referees. And what's the role of the referee? It's to make sure that the game is played fairly and that everyone kind of abides by the rules, right? So when you're a company, sometimes we are states and governments have laws, right? That they say, okay, company, you need to make sure that your employees have A, B, and C. And so we make sure that our company has A, B, and C for our employees, and we draft policies for them. The other thing is some companies create their own policies, right? So paid time off, right? Like everyone likes to go on vacation. So companies have vacation policies. That's not something that you're going to get from a state, but it's going to be something that the company's like, hey, our employees deserve some time off. So let's have a policy for that. Everyone gets 2 weeks of vacation or whatever. So we create that policy. And then we make sure, human resources, that everybody's on the same playing field, that we're abiding by the state laws, we're abiding by the company policies. And if somebody kind of breaks the rules or doesn't abide by those, we kind of come in and, we're kind of like, okay, you get a penalty, right? Or bring it back 10 yards or, it's cheesy sports talk, but in reality, we're holding people accountable and making sure that everyone's abiding by the same rules so that everyone is treated fairly.
No, that makes sense. And for some students or people who enjoy that structure and that very clear, concise plan, that this could be a good fit for them. So that makes a lot of sense. What are some of the challenges that you face in your job?
I think the challenges are the ever changing rules and regulations that companies have to abide by. So, whether it's something crazy like a pandemic, right? Or if it's just a normal year and, New York State, because we're a New York State based company, says, hey, you as an employer, you have to provide this benefit to your employee, just reacting to that, right? And saying, okay, like, what does that look like for our company? We need to create this policy. We need to make sure that we're following all the rules. That's a challenge. I think anytime you deal with people, right? You know, everyone kind of comes in to work and every day and sometimes they're in a bad mood, sometimes they're in a good mood. You don't know what's going on outside of the home or outside of work and inside the home. So somebody comes in and they're grumpy, right? And it's dealing with that. It's just dealing with all these different personalities and making sure that it's no different than a high school or even in a playground setting, right? Somebody wants to share one day and they don't want to share the next day, and you're just seeking to understand, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? Like our goal is to make sure that everyone feels welcome and gets their and does their best work while they're at work.
Okay, thank you. So For a job such as this, and realizing too that what it might mean for you could be different for others or different businesses, what would be the salary ranges for someone working in human resources? And would you say that there are opportunities for advancement in your type of position?
Yeah, so absolutely. Human resources is a really hot career right now. So you could do anything from an HR intern, right? During college, your summers off or whatever, you come in as an HR intern and maybe it's $15 an hour, whatever, an intern pay. All the way up to, a VP or a director of human resources, which is the highest level of an executive can hold, right, in a company that
Right.
paid, maybe $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Obviously there's a lot of in betweens, right? But there's different avenues for human resources. So I'm a generalist, which means I kind of dabble in a bunch of different human resources things. I do the interviewing, I write the policies, I speak to employees if there's any disciplinary situations going on. But there are companies that just have people that do the interviewing. So you could be under a human resource umbrella, but all you do is the interviewing. All you do is reviewing applicants and hiring applicants. That's all you do. Then there's people who all they do are like leaves of absences. So that means that if somebody is sick, right, they have to be out of work. Maybe they're having surgery, right, like a knee surgery, and they have to be out for a couple months because of that. Managing that, right? So, okay, employee, yep, you're going to go out on this date. You're going to return on this date. We want to make sure that you get paid while you're out. You have all the benefits that you deserve while you're out. So there's all these laws and rules that go along with that, right? And then there's the policy side, and that's really knowing law, understanding state and federal law, very similar to what a lawyer would do, right? So they read all these laws that come in and then making sure that their company is abiding by those laws and writing policies. So it really runs the gamut.
Sorry about that. Well, thank you so much. I think that perfectly explains that question, and it probably depends on how large the company is that you work for, kind of how many people they need to have under that umbrella. That was a really good way to put it. I visually can kind of see how a human resources department must work now. I want to thank you for your time. It's obvious that you're passionate about what you do, and it sounds like you're passionate about working with people, and sounds like you're a problem solver. When I hear you talk, it sounds like kind of things are thrown your way and you have to find solutions and make the best choices. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I want to let the kids know who chose to watch this video that Ms. Colarusso has offered to answer any other questions that you might have regarding this field. So if that happens, just reach out to me and I can connect you. Okay.